In this video, we're going to be talking about index match match, and we're also going to be comparing it with vlookup and why you would use one over the other. Vlookup is very simple to use, but it's not always the best depending on your data set and what you're looking for. We'll also compare it against xlookup, again, to see which one makes the most sense depending on what your needs are. So first we're going to start with our vlookup, which we've done before. So we're going to look for the credit card type and the date for these three people here. So let's start with our vlookup formula. Our search key is the name. Our range is this data over here. Our index is 2 and false. And now we can see that Patrick used a Discover card. And if we go down and do a manual search, we will find that Patrick used a Discover card. Perfect. Now we can go and do a little bit of magic here to make sure that we can pull this all the way down. So we're going to lock in our range. And we can pull this down. Now that we have this in vlookup, we're going to build the exact same formula over here using index match match instead. So we're going to start with, so index match match is actually 3 functions all rolled together. So we're going to do index, and our reference for our index is our data set, and we've created a named range for this. So we're going to use our purchase data range. And now we're going to do, so instead of doing a row and a column, we're going to do that, but we're going to do a match. So instead of choosing the row and choosing the column, we're going to ask it to match based on a reference. So let's start with that. So we'll do comma, and now we're going to add the function match, which will build a new set of parentheses. So now it's asking, okay, fine, what's our search key? What are we looking for? Our search key is our name, Patrick. So we're going to go ahead and bracket this with our money sign so we can hold that in place as we drag. So the column will stay the same, but the cell will change as it goes down. So we're going to do A4, comma, and then our range has to be a single column or row. So for this one, we're going to start with our, where is it searching? It's looking for Patrick, and which column is it looking for? It's looking for an H. So we'll do H, H. And we want a perfect match. So we'll put a 0, which means if it doesn't find an exact match, it'll give us an error. Now we're going to put in our second match. So again, match for our column index, parentheses here, and now we start over again with our match function. So our search key is going to be our credit card type, Our range is going to be the column, so we're asking for it to look for, uh, you know, the range is going to be our row, which is where our headers are. So to make this absolute, we're going to put in so there's our row. And then again, our search type is 0. We want an exact match for this. And now we will close our parentheses twice to get a full formula. So what this is saying is, what this formula is saying is out of this data set, purchase data, we want to match this particular search key, Patrick. And once you find it, then we want you to search for this thing, credit card type, and we want you to look in these header rows to find it. So it's like doing a vlookup and an xlookup at the same time, or an xlookup. It's a little bit more complicated to set up, but it's going to give you faster results and more accurate results, and it's going to be able to backwards track, which is not something that vlookup can do. So we're going to press enter, and we have the right match. So to set up a VLOOKUP for the date, we're going to type in VLOOKUP. We're looking for A4, which is Patrick. Here's our range. We can use purchase data here for our range if we wanted to. We want column 1, index 1, and then we want it to be false. We want it to be 0, accurate. It's going to give us an NA. And the reason why it does that is because our reference is here in this column, and VLOOKUP doesn't go backwards. So we would have to rearrange our data for this to work. And in some spreadsheets, that's not possible. So let's build the same thing with index match match. I'm actually going to go ahead and autofill this. And it gave me an error. So let's come in here and fix our formula. And there we go. Now we have the credit card type used and the date. Again, it's a little bit more syntax to get this set up with index match match, but once you have it in place and all your errors are done, you have a working formula. So let's just add on to this really quickly. Let's figure out how many dumplings they bought. And there we go. Now I can highlight all 3 of these and I can drag these down, and now I have a full working formula. If I need to change the person's name on this, I can. So this worked really well. Now we can do the same thing here. We can build the same process for, let's just use index match match for this one. We're going to hide these, and we can build it one more time to do stars and date. And we have a fully functioned index match match. Now I'm going to show you how to use xlookup to accomplish a similar task as vlookup or index match match. So for this, we're looking same information. We're looking up our credit card type and our date for our search term, which this time it's Tracy. So we're going to start with our function, which is xlookup. Now on this one, we need to select our search key. Our search key is customer name. Our lookup range has to be a single column or row, so it can either be a VLOOKUP or an HLOOKUP. So for this one, it's going to be a VLOOKUP, and we're looking up column I. And then what resulting information do we want? So if we find the answer in column I, what's the next column or row we want that information to come from? And for this particular one, we're looking for credit card data. So we're looking for J. And then missing value, if we want an exact match, or not. This one, if unspecified, an error is returned, so we're not going to worry about that. We're actually looking at match mode, which is 0. We want an exact match. And we're not using it on this particular formula, but there is an option for search mode. So for example, if it were to find multiple, what am I looking for? Am I looking for the first entry, the last entry? In these examples, we only have one uh, data entry point for each one, so there's only one Tracy in here, but if there were multiple, this would allow you to look at the most recent one, depending on the order that you specify. We're not using that here, so we're just going to put our match value and then we'll hit 0. And here is our credit card type for Tracy, which is a Visa. There it is, Tracy Visa. So let's build the same thing for our date. The reason why xlookup is more beneficial than vlookup is since you're deciding where the lookup range, where the result range is going to be, it doesn't matter if the result range is before or after. So if you want kind of the power of half the power of index match match without the complicated syntax, and vlookup isn't going to work for you, xlookup is an option as well.